Hi, Mindy.
Hi, Shahida. We're starting a podcast. It's
Yeah.
called She the People because we feel like there needs to be more strong female voices out there with everything going on in this world and in this country. And so we are two former Peace Corps vets who have lived a lot, and we want to talk about things that are happening in our country that we're not okay with and how we get things to be better. Let's just say who we are. Whenever you're listening to someone, you should always ask, why am I listening to this person? Why am I listening to Joe Rogan talk about science?
And what are his
He
credentials?
talk about vaccines. Do they have a good, strong medical background?
I think it's important to know a person's qualifications. It's not everything, but it's something.
And your
There has to be
qualifications,
a lot of experience in that subject matter if there's not going to be qualifications to that.
yeah, you're not going to go to plumber to build your house.
Hmm.
You're not going to,
You're asking him about plumbing things in your house.
yes.
That's his expertise, and he trained for that specifically and knows a lot more about it than
You have an interesting background too, that I think being Malaysian and growing up that way and then going back and visiting is different than a lot of us.
having an immigrant experience.
You have an immigrant experience where you're first generation.
I guess technically I'm second generation because I was born here. My parents and my two older siblings would be considered first generation because they moved and immigrated here from Malaysia.
You're the only one that was actually born here out of your siblings. Your older sister and older brother were born in Malaysia.
Yes. And they immigrated in 1981, and then I was born in 1982.
Did your mom move by herself?
No, they moved as a family. My
With
was getting his PhD at Penn State. And that's why we moved to Penn State, State College, Pennsylvania. Then I came into existence, and then my little sister came shortly after me, I guess 4 years after me. But yeah, then we lived our entire upbringing in Pennsylvania because my baba left, my parents separated, and my mom stayed and remarried an American. I was raised in the US. And I remember going back to Malaysia and visiting throughout my life. I have all of my relatives and a culture background in another place, which I think is a really beautiful thing. I think a lot of Americans have this experience where they are American and bring another culture as a part of their identity.
And we know that having different cultures and opinions is better for businesses, it's better for science, because you have different ideas. You go somewhere you've never been before and you're like, I never thought of doing it like that, but maybe it's more efficient.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, Mindy?
Grew up in California and went to university and got a degree and then worked in a lab and then went into the Peace Corps where we met and were Peace Corps volunteers for 27 months in rural Morocco. We were not living next to each other. You didn't live close to some people live close to other volunteers. I did not have a volunteer that was very close to me. Then went to Johns Hopkins, where we lived together again, separately, but in the same town of Baltimore. It's great love for Baltimore. And then became a nurse. We both went to Johns Hopkins, became a nurse, and then went into the Air Force, active duty military. People are always like, I was in the military. What were you? Oh, I was reserves. Not the same thing. If you're active duty, you're guard, or you're reserves. There's some people serving in the Trump administration right now who were not active duty, but they are given a lot of for serving in the military. And I just like to distinguish that it is not the same thing. And now I'm back in school getting a doctorate in psychiatry to be a psychiatric nurse practitioner and lots of other stuff, right? In between there. But that's the general gist of it.
Yep. Yeah. And I think we'll talk about MCH a lot. I know we'll make references to MCH. And so when we say MCH, it stands for Maternal and Child Health, the branch, I guess, of what would you call it, Mindy? The area.
subset of, yeah, because they have business development and then language. And so we were maternal and child health, and we were put in rural locations, and we were an all-girl group, started with 24 girls,
This
ended
is the
with
peace.
9 of us for many different reasons.
We served 2005 to 2007 in rural Morocco, where we met and are celebrating our 20-year anniversary. It was one of the most formative experiences of my life,
Yes.
probably all of our lives.
Yes.
And
You
we spent
definitely
2 years in a rural site in Morocco and worked in maternal and child health, focusing on women and children.
And then what did you do? And then you came home.
Yeah, so I grew up in Pennsylvania, went to university, served in the Peace Corps, met some of my closest friends, then went to Johns Hopkins with you, Mindy, and did a master's in public health. We were in two different programs. I moved to Seattle, Washington, worked for the university, and did my PhD in health services at the School of Public Health at the University of Washington. I finished in 2022 and now work at a research center at the University of Washington studying the healthcare workforce. Health has been a big part of both of our lives. The reason we met is the thing that we do in our vocation and interest.
I've been a nurse for 15 years, so we could talk about healthcare, science. Healthcare is not great in this country for many reasons. There have been times where I have asked doctors, was that evidence-based? With a blank stare, because many stories.
Did they just not expect that to come from you?
I think
They didn't know
that
your background?
a lot of times people just accept what doctors are doing as best practice. A lot of the time, they're not. In some ways, doctors are people pleasers, and so they don't like to hit on tough topics. As a nurse, you end up having a lot of the hardest conversations with your patients. You're also at the bedside all the time, so you kind of develop more of a relationship. I mean, there's like so many times that I'm like, I'm not coding this guy. He's 85. Many people don't survive codes. It's a very small percentage of people that survive codes.
When you say
People
code, what do you mean?
like CPR. People think that CPR is going to bring them back to life and they're going to just bounce right back. You're literally cracking someone's sternum. You hear the bones crack to get to their heart because you're literally massaging it. That is not survivable for many of the elderly.
Have you seen this in
Yes.
action?
We base things on life and death. We don't base things on quality of life. We base things on, do you want to live or are you going to die? Not like, do you want to live and have a terrible quality of life and probably end up in a home and not even be able to breathe on your own? Or do you want to just die peacefully and we'll support you all the way through that? Things are rarely discussed. This is a whole soapbox that I could.
Yeah.
Not only have I seen it, but I've participated in my own life with my father. And then I've been at the bedside many times where people have been making these tough decisions.
Yeah. And who is making these tough decisions? Because I'm assuming it's not the person that you're coding.
It's usually family that wants to keep people alive. It's just not presented. And now that I'm in this position, in this role, I think it's like one visit that's covered by Medicare or insurance to talk about a DNR, a do not resuscitate. I think everybody past the age of 45 or 50 should have 3 visits covered where you go in and actually talk about how you want. I would save this country billions of dollars right there, just on people being informed. There's a paper by a Johns Hopkins doctor where they talk to different doctors. They ask them, what kind of life-saving resuscitation would you want? And 90 something percent of them would not want any kind of intervention. Would you ever want to be intubated on a ventilator? No. Would you ever want food put into you by a pump? No. A lot of them even say no IV fluids. So you think about the people that see it every day. I've asked doctors, would you ever do this to one of your family members? Would you ever have this done to you? No.
And I have to imagine that in those situations, If you aren't well informed or you don't know the wishes of your family member and you are faced with a really difficult decision under a lot of duress, you're going to err on the side of, yes, keep him, her alive. And so I think the problem here is that we just don't have the
Education.
opportunities to
Yeah.
talk about it, and we don't even know how to broach it or that we should be talking about it. I know that you've discussed this quite a bit. We've
Hmm.
talked about your experiences, and it's something I learned a lot from. And I don't have a DNR, and
Yeah.
my husband doesn't have a DNR. I know my mom doesn't. There's just a lot of questions if we were ever faced with that difficult decision and be in that situation.
Yeah, and their conversations, like, for sure, we will have an episode on death and dying and, like, all this stuff
Mm.
because, as you know, it is, like, a passion of mine. But these are conversations that we should all be having. The only thing we know about when you're born is that you're gonna die. That is literally the only thing that you can count on. You were born and you will die. And so people have these birth stories, right?
Yeah.
Like, why not have a death story? That's, like, what I created for my father. Like, what kind of music do you want? Like, who do you want to be there? Do you wanna be touched? If you're ever at a death, it is literally like a birth. I've been at both, and it's like not having children myself, but having other people be birthing babies. It's very similar. The noises, the sounds are very similar. That's how hospice describes it when you read the hospice pamphlet. It's a labor of death? Yeah. So it's like, I wanna die sitting on a deck in the redwoods with, like, water.
The sound of water.
Yeah. And maybe friends and family in the background and someone next to me just listening to people have fun.
Yeah.
Like, not in a hospital bed. And at any age, that's a choice, unless there's some sort of, like, traumatic thing that happens to you. But in general, we got off topic.
We got way off topic, but that's beautiful. What I would actually like to talk about, Mindy, since we're talking about health and healthcare, I know we'll get back on track, but lived a lot of life. We served in the Peace Corps. You served in the military, and you were actually deployed in Afghanistan. So
Yep.
you are a frontline service member. Is that what you mean? Frontline service member? Am I using that word in the proper context?
Yeah. Well, I think also because I was an ICU nurse too, so then you're frontline. I don't know,
Yes.
honestly. I wasn't, like,
In combat.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. But I've never asked you about what
Oh,
that was like. I was wondering if you would say a little bit about what that experience was like.
it was so weird because it was during the pandemic. We got locked down, and so you couldn't go anywhere. You were supposed to come visit. You were gonna come to San Antonio with some of the
Right.
other girls, and then COVID
Mm.
happened. So I didn't get to see anyone before I left, except for my ex who took my dog. It was just weird. We had to be in a weird place in weird circumstances for 2 weeks because they were worried about COVID. So it was just like, that in itself was kind of a unique experience. Where were we? In Qatar, and these, like, literally hot boxes because it was, like, summer for 2 weeks, fenced in with barbed wire. We weren't allowed to leave this area, and then you go and you get your food at this time, and because they were so worried about us
This
contracting
was
COVID.
like quarantine, right?
We were quarantined for 2 weeks, and you just always had to wear a mask, and everything was shut down. You're on a base. I was just so tired and trying to sleep. When you come into Afghanistan, the plane has to come in at an angle. It's a very crazy landing, and I was really tired, so I took a Benadryl or 2 before we landed, and I was like, "We're here." I look up in Afghanistan. Everyone around me was like, "Holy shit." We'd all been through this crazy landing. I slept through the entire thing. Somewhat regrettable because I wanted to experience it.
But you did experience it.
I did.
Yeah. You weren't conscious for
I
it.
was not conscious.
I don't really remember it at all.
No, not even a little bit. I remember landing and thinking that we were still in the air. Are we almost there? Yeah, you have to do it.
Fun.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the base, so You're in the mountains and the base is like 9 miles around. It's like a whole little town. There's a post office and barber shop. There's some other random stuff. There's a movie theater, but everything was shut down because of COVID.
So I'm
Yeah.
imagining like a little city or like a little town that is
Yeah, a little town
oh,
with Air Force stuff. There was a whole area for special forces that I had no idea what went on there. I think one day I went and got food because I heard their food was better over there. Our area where the hospital was, everything was contained in little areas. So our hospital was really where I spent, like, I worked out there because of COVID. So like, all the things that they're like, you have this great gym or you have all this like great food and stuff, like everything was shut down. So they let us put a gym outside the hospital, luckily, because that's all you do in your time off. You work 6 days a week in the ICU. It was confusing because they didn't really know what they were doing because of the pandemic. It was stressful. I love ICU. I feel like my skills got so much better. You can't get that experience anywhere. You get to know someone as a patient. You're like, oh no, we need to do this. My skills improved greatly, but it was very stressful. And then it would ebb and flow. We had a lot of COVID cases. Bases are very strange. There are a lot of contractors from all over the world. There were like a ton of people from India, like a ton of men from India and Uganda. Those are the two main places. They'd come and work at the base as contractors and like make money and send it home. We were the last big group to come in before we left Afghanistan. They were trying to get people out, send them back to their countries. They were worried about COVID, but so we had a lot of COVID and then we had a lot of trauma from Afghani soldiers, special forces that would get a leg blown off, head wound,
mm.
shot in the head.
Did you take pictures?
There was one because this guy got shot in the head and sat in an Afghani hospital for 4 days. They just put gauze over it. So they took his skull off and it was
And then,
full fungus.
oh
He
my god.
survived. He was at a 2-year-old level,
What
maybe
does
a
that
little
mean?
older. He wasn't a functioning human.
He survived, but he was
Yeah.
debilitated mentally. And then when you say they took his skull off, how big of a
Literally.
piece are you
Like
talking about? Like the
this.
whole top of his head.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And they would infuse it with
Oh my god.
antibiotics. And then he would get IV antibiotics.
Uh-huh. Huh. And they and
Months.
then
Yeah. Part of it, the things there, I'm like, I don't know how ethical this is. Are we just trying to learn? I just took the best care of people that I could. You don't speak the same language as them. I took the best
Yeah.
care I could of people. There were some great moments for sure. I took care of this Afghan guy that was pretty high up in the government, and his son was someone over here. He was really nice. He had COVID, gotten COVID, and like he had COPD since he was like this official. He was brought in and I was with him every day and you just get to know patients. And I did research into COVID and came up with a whole protocol for what to do with people. People weren't doing it here. They weren't even talking about it. Proning, just like don't
Yeah.
lay flat on your back or everything's
Right.
going to puddle. What happens, and that's why your lungs get filled up. I implemented this whole protocol of having people turn and then you have to sit up and eat. If they were my patient, I was like, now it's time to eat. You have to eat. Okay, you're going to sit up. He never had to be intubated. I had another guy like that too. And they both told me, you're the only reason I'm alive.
Wow.
And that definitely, even now, I hope they're still alive. I know one went back to India because that's where he was from. But I just hope that Afghani guy, he was a really nice older guy.
That's so powerful.
And that they didn't have to be intubated. That was the great thing. If you have an idea in the military and it's good, they'll let you run with it. And especially in a place like Afghanistan, there was a lady that had constant pain, constantly wanting drugs for pain. I was like, can I come up with a whole pain protocol? And this anesthesiologist was like, sure, totally not in my scope. And I did. And it involves a lot of psych meds because that's what you do. They hit same receptors too. And she improved. She left the ICU, started walking around like she wanted to go outside. She was just so down. She'd gotten shot by ISIS. She was a prominent Afghani woman that spoke out, and they tried to assassinate her. So she'd gotten shot in the gut, and they brought her in
So
again.
you met a lot of people from all over the world.
Yeah,
in
there's a lot of
your
people.
experience as a nurse in the military and a deployed nurse in the military working in ICU.
Yeah, it was a unique experience that it wasn't bad or good. There were really good things about it, and then really bad things about it. I think the things I have a hard time with are just ethical stuff, and that we left, and all those people that we saved are probably dead.
They were probably targeted because they worked with the US government.
Yes, for sure. I mean, we worked with probably 6 interpreters. I have no idea what happened to them. You know, what were you going to say?
No, I froze for a moment. I keep freezing.
My internet is slow.
I do have Starlink, unfortunately.
It's sometimes
It's the only thing available to me where I live because I live in a rural community.
we haven't seen much of him lately.
Not after that big fallout we
The
were waiting for.
I don't know about you, but I was really
Shocked that it took so long.
You have 2 narcissistic megalomaniacs together. The numbers are in. He cost us $21 billion.
Including all of the firings and cuts. What are we talking about? What's going into that number?
It's probably more than that's the number that the senator, I can't remember his name, but when they looked into it, they're still paying people. They cut things that actually make money, like the fine line numbers, but the actual damage and cost, we won't know for years because they cut essential personnel and essential things.
So just Doge alone. We're not even talking about the big, beautiful bill that's adding to our deficit. It's just Doge.
Just Doge.
He set out to do was to save the government money and downsize the government because why are we paying these people to do the things that they do? Let's eliminate them and eliminate whole programs like USAID. That is the figure people are coming to now, that it cost us money versus saved us money. I wouldn't consider 21 billion a small number.
I wouldn't either. And like anyone with any intellect or capability of understanding how systems work would know that this was what was going to happen. If you're not an idiot and you have some understanding of government or systems, you know you can't get rid of everything and think it's going to still run. It's like going into a hospital that's already having a hard time staffing itself and cutting a bunch of other stuff and then expecting it to be running better.
Yeah.
Said no one ever in any situation, anywhere. We need to cut a bunch of essential personnel.
Someone not from that system or has no experience in that
No
system.
idea. Might even be like a 20-year-old.
Yeah. And in many cases was a study
From Big Balls or something like that. There was one. Because he's like getting threatened and like Trump said maybe he would intervene with the military.
I don't know about this big ball. It sounds like an interesting character, though. I'd like to know where that nickname came from.
Do you really want to know?
No, I actually don't.
Yeah, where a 20-year-old got the nickname Big Balls. Maybe he was circumcised later in life and his balls, like, you know, that happens sometimes.
I don't.
They get
have
really
no idea.
swollen. Yeah, that's what they
Oh,
get
the
really
swelling.
swollen.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, we have our imaginations. Is it like facetious? Maybe he has really small balls, and so people
Oh,
just oh, big is well. You know, it could be
And-
sarcasm.
Who gave him the name?
Yeah,
Who saw your balls?
it was like maybe we should call him Big Balls. Why? I don't know. No reason.
Yeah.
Did he see his balls? No.
Yeah.
Did he show you? his
Were
balls?
you looking
No.
at his?
I
Were you looking at his balls?
Not at all. We should,
Balls.
come on.
That's it. Who saw him? Someone saw your balls and decided to call you Big Balls.
Yeah, because you do not give yourself a nickname like that.
No. And
We
he's
had
gonna.
to verify and then agree. Yes, it's so. I agree. Big balls.
And he's gonna be like, "It's because 'cause I'm like a man," and I'm like, I got go through life, and you're like, "No, it's
Yeah.
because someone saw your balls."
Yeah. I wanna, like, imagine that interaction.
Yes.
Have you seen Duckbill?
Yeah, they're ginormous. Is there a problem down there?
We got another cat. We're like a weird cat family now.
What? The same one? The same kind?
Same cat. So we started with one cat. She disappeared. And then so we ended up contacting the same person because we have Siberian cats. They're hypoallergenic. My husband has a cat allergy. The woman was like, I have these two cats that you can have at a discounted price. We're like, okay, we'll take two cats. One cat disappeared, and then we have Cersei. When Trump got elected, I was like, I need another cat if I'm going to get through this.
You wanted a puppy.
I did want a puppy. Someone vetoed that decision. So we got a kitten instead. And that's satisfied my need for joy because this kitten is such a sweetie. Then someone contacted me and said one of their coworkers was moving to Texas and trying to rehome her adult Siberian cat. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I have two adult cats and one kitten, all Siberians. And the new one lives in the garage because he's kind of scared of the other cat.
Oh.
He's a real sweet guy, though. I think at some point he's gonna.
He'll come
The other
inside.
cats, the other cats will accept him and he'll come inside. But right now, I thought we'd lost him because he got outside and we lived by a bunch of fields. And I was like, he's never coming back. But
And
then
you're like, "That's the second time I've lost a cat this month."
this was all over a period of time. This was over a long period of time. I'm talking years. We haven't churned out cats.
One of them got stuck in a car.
That's a whole other story. Yes.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah. Our kitten got lost in Seattle in the city.
I always picture a children's book when you're like, kitten got lost in Seattle
Yeah.
in the big city from the rural area.
Country kitten lost in the big city. I think that has some potential for a kid's book.
It might exist.
I'll draft it. Over a period of a couple weeks, I lost two cats, but they came back.
Yeah.
So spoiler, a happy ending. All's well that ends well. We got
Yeah.
our kitten back, and then North, who's our new kitty, he's real sweet. Usually he hides during the day and comes out in the evenings. One evening, I was like, has anyone seen North? That's just really strange. Usually he's walking around at this point. And then the next day I didn't see him. And then the next day I didn't see him. And I was like, did someone leave the door open? He's definitely not here. So I was feeling really sad because we'd just gotten this cat and he was really sweet and really scared. So I was not feeling like a great responsible pet owner at that point. And then I was driving after picking up Ian from camp and I saw this little white orange cat scurry across the driveway and then into like the big garage. And that's where he's been living. He's been I give him a dish of food and a dish of water and I leave it in the garage for him. And then sometimes he comes out and he lets me pet him. He's making a lot of progress, but I think he just needed his own space.
Was he a house cat for the family you got him from?
No, he was an indoor-outdoor cat. I just was worried because he doesn't know this environment. Sometimes they get freaked out and take off and they don't know what home is. I kept him inside for the week that we had him so that he knew this is home. Once you realize that you're coming back to this place, then you can be outside. But I guess that happened much more quickly than I had anticipated. Or at least he found a place where he felt really comfortable. So we leave the
Yeah.
garage door open for him.
When we were doing this, I was like, we haven't talked a ton in a long time. So we're just kidding.
Yeah.
I was like, we should do 3 things that I know Shahida loves. Number
Okay.
1, friends and family, I think would be number 1 for you. Number 2, I had number 2, karaoke.
I thought you were going to put cats on that list.
I felt like they would be like 4.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it in my top 3. I think I was just waiting for you to say it because that's where I thought the segue was going.
I know. I was like, this isn't a great segue. Number 1, friends and family. Number 2, travel. Number 3, karaoke.
Yeah.
You feel like that's accurate?
I feel like that's really accurate. Good job, Mindy. Should I come up with your 3 right here on the spot?
Yeah, do it. Let's see if you can.
Number 1 is easy because it's friends and family for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anyone who it wouldn't be friends with? And would you be friends with that person?
God.
What's your top one thing you love?
God.
God.
No. If you're not saying friends and family, I just don't think so.
It says a lot about a person. Some people have difficult relationships with their family, but then they have a chosen
Friends.
family. It doesn't have to be like I get along well with my parents or my siblings, but then you have the relationships. I think we're talking about people who value relationships.
Their number one priority.
What if someone was like, money?
I could name a few people that are definitely like power and money.
Maybe they wouldn't say it because it's not culturally acceptable, but by their actions, you're like, you value power and money.
I think we should end on a funny story because we really liked prank. I still do. It's been a while though.
We love
When we
pranks.
were younger. I think you know the one I'm talking about.
No, I don't. We had so many.
Remember the screensaver? You were changing a screensaver and I left my outgoing phone message.
This is going to require a lot more explanation.
It was an elaborate prank for sure.
I'm going to attempt to explain these shenanigans because, and it's been a while, I haven't had to explain it. And so, okay, so I'm going to start and I'm going to try. My partner at the time had a very gullible roommate, and somehow we had decided that we would do something to his computer. We had his computer because we had to, we were borrowing it for some reason. We were like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we changed his screensaver to something ridiculous? So we found this picture of a unicorn up on its hind leg, reared up. And it was like this bright white unicorn, and then it was very well endowed. Like this unicorn, big balls.
Big balls.
Balls.
Full circle.
Full circle, going back around to big balls. And so we're like, haha, that's going to be so funny when he opens up his computer. And then we were like, but he's going to change it immediately. And so what are we going to do? Like, we want him to carry it around for a while. So we came up with this idea that we had subscribed him to a service that would change his screensaver periodically to mystical, magical creatures. And
this is where I came in. Remember, we were all out drinking.
Yeah.
And you guys were saying what you had done. And we were like, wouldn't it be funny if we carried this over?
Yeah.
And literally at the bar wrote out a whole dialogue of what I was going to say for my outgoing message.
As a fake business that would change the background of his computer to different creatures. And that if he wanted to unregister himself or cancel the service, he had to call a certain number to do it himself. We made Mindy be the business and change her message.
And it was like, welcome to your fantasy. We have the largest selection of unicorns, magical creatures located on the Pacific coast. It was a whole message. It was much better than that because we had wrote the whole thing out.
It sounded very professional.
It did.
Yeah.
And then I would text him.
Thank you for purchasing. We had to go.
You had to change the screensaver. And he kept calling me over and over. He would not stop calling me. And then I left the country.
Right? Like we did it maybe several times where it kept changing to a different fantastical image on his screen. There was some way that we did it that he couldn't change it himself. It was a hidden, circuitous way that not everyone would know how to do. He was stuck with it. And he would be like, you need to fix this right now. You need to call them. And we'd be like, we're out to dinner. This is the number. Give them a call and just tell them you want to cancel the service. And he's like, fuck you. It's after business hours. I'm just getting the message. And I'm like, call them during business hours.
He was like, they're on Pacific time. He thought we were charging his Sprint account too. Like, you're going to be charged $250.
Yeah.
But, and then I went to Costa Rica. He was still calling me, but I was out of the country. I'd never met him before. We were at the bar and I met him for the first time. I was like, welcome to your fantasy. He did not get it at all.
He knew your voice intimately because he had heard your recording.
Many times.
Dozens and dozens of times. Did they tell you about that service that they
Yeah.
signed me up for? He did.
No, we told him what we had done.
Finally, we were like, okay, this has run its course. Like, we called and we canceled your subscription, so don't worry. It's back to normal. He never thought it was a prank until he met you.
Even then, he was on the fence about believing us. We were like, look, it's the number. And just so you all know, he's a doctor. We told him the whole thing, and he still was like, I don't know.
That was a strange subscription they signed me up for.
We're like, nope. The original thing was the prank. This is not the prank. This is the part where we tell you it was a prank.
This was the
This is the reveal of the prank. He's like, I don't know. That was a good one.
That was a great one. That was one of our best. I think our best.
I think that was number one always on the prank. There's other funny stories that we absolutely have to tell, but that was like, as far as prank goes, I feel like that was one of the best ever. The orchestration, the dedication,
Yeah,
and no
we're
one got
committed.
hurt. We committed 100%. I left that outgoing message on my phone for a month and had to tell my family.
You had to
I had to explain
Yeah.
why
What was-
I was now a fantasy company.
What was the company name? I don't even remember anymore.
It was always, welcome to your fantasy. We are the largest supplier of mythical creatures.
Yeah.
That was it.
Can we talk about MCH? The other acronym that we like to use is Magical Creatures from Heaven. Our logo is our
MCH.
spirit animal is of MCH is the unicorn. Because they're
Yeah.
just magical and mystical and badass.
Yeah, this is 20 years in the making. It's been a great ride so far.
Been amazing.
Yeah. I mean, and it's great. They're all doing really cool shit that we get
And
to talk to them about.
We'll
Have
bring them on the show and talk about all the awesome things they're doing in their lives. I think this is not something that we're producing either. There was an outline, but these are the conversations that we usually have. This is not something that we're creating for the sake of this podcast. We actually talk about these issues. We talk about what's important to us. We talk about the world that we want to live in and what that looks like, where we go from here, and how we get back on track. It's been really upsetting and disappointing to be two people that love this country, see it get torn down the way it has in the last 6 months.
To think that we have years ahead of us of this is unfathomable. A lot of people feel helpless. Bringing hope and talking about what we can do. We both go march. We both make phone calls. We both call people out too. Like, it's not a time to sit on the sidelines right now. If somebody's doing something and it's not okay, tell them.
Yeah.
I just don't
Have those
think that
conversations.
have conversations, talk to people, call them out. Call ICE out. If you know someone that's ICE, tell them you are on the wrong side of history. Never has history been on the side of the aggressor.
I think that's another reason why we're taking to this medium, because we don't agree with where this country is going. We wanted to put our voices out there and talk about the things that are concerning us, but also what we want to do, combat it.
And have a plan in place when we take the power back. What do we want our country to look like? And it's possible. And it's not a white Christian nationalist. If that's your idea of what you want the country to look like, this is not something you want to listen to, because we fundamentally do not agree with you. You want to look at your morals because it's wrong. What's wrong with you? Have some human decency.
This is not what Jesus wanted.
Jesus.
Who preached acceptance and love
and gave everything for the people, anyone that came to him. And for these white Christian nationalists to steal, I wish he could just come
and tell them this is not what I meant. I was talking about honoring and valuing the poor and the downtrodden and the sick, lifting these people up,
community,
compassion and decency and unconditional love and acceptance for your fellow humans.
And if you're only watching right-wing media, like I go on right-wing media to see what people are seeing. It's disgusting. It's so untrue and it's so opinionated against.
And it's very othering and exclusive.
Yeah, it's wrong. And then you go on some other right-wing media and it's like a lot of these young white men that are just spouting hate and opinions
Yeah.
that don't make any sense at all. I would never even want to associate with them.
Something that I want to see more of in the world, kindness.
Basic human decency. You know?
If everyone just spent more time trying to be kind and less time trying to amass wealth, it would be a very different situation.
If you treated people with kindness and compassion because you yourself want to be treated with kindness and compassion, that would just go a long ways. I'll tell you this morning, real quick. I walk Nanook every morning, pretty much the same way, but I switch it up. There's people I always see that are the same. And now he's very cute, obviously. And this couple always like, oh, well, I finally like stopped and they gave him treats. And then another guy came with treats. Like these older couples walked the path with treats in their pockets. They're all the dogs.
Oh my god.
And like now this is just the past few days. Like I happen to be stopped. And so now he thinks everybody has treats in their pockets. This morning, I was listening to something that was funny. I was listening to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, and it was Timmy Oliphant. They're actually really funny together. Almost my whole walk, I had a smile on my face. Every person I passed was like, good morning and hi. That's not every morning, but I was giggling to myself. Nanook was getting treats. The general feeling of the walk, every single person gave me, and there were a lot of people out, gave me a smile and a good morning. I came back and I was like, that was great. That was such a great walk. Everyone was so friendly, and just nice.
It takes so little.
I saw every type of different person on my walk this morning.
Kindness isn't exclusive to any one type of person.
Oh,
Everyone can practice kindness. Let's do more of that.
kindness, compassion, and empathy. Empathy is good.
It's what makes us human.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, Mindy. Until next time.
Okay. Love
Bye.
you.